So it's like the music in that time with your dad and his friends, but then also Richard Pryor too.
Yeah, no, just as huge, maybe even huger, way earlier, because there's another thing. My dad would play those early Richard Pryor records around the house,
Mm-hmm.
and have his friends over, and they'd hang out and laugh. Could you
Mm-hmm.
imagine? They play a Richard Pryor record, y'all just hanging around the couch smoking weed and listening and cracking up. That's the thing, that's the thing they would do all the time,
Yeah.
it seemed like. And I just listen. And I'm like 9 years old, listening to this shit like two dudes. And I'm like, oh man, that's funny. And then I could go outside and start talking just like that.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, hey, you motherfuckers don't know shit, right? That type of thing.
Yeah.
So I started kind of like just talking like that
Mm-hmm.
to make the neighborhood kids think I was something. And then it's stuck, and like I can't get rid of it sometimes. It just comes around. Like sometimes I'm just around the house, like, oh, these bitches out here. Oh shit, sorry. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, your kids are just like, and that became like that. Like anybody that knows you, especially people that knew you in the time, like when you first started touring.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Like that was, man.
That's just everything.
Yeah, to this day, like it's hard for me to hear Richard Pryor and not hear you.
Yeah, it's really. He was such a big inspiration for me. And as I got older and I started understanding the other part, like the more vulnerable stuff.
Yeah.
And I started being like, oh, like you can talk with, like, I never heard my dad talk like that. I could tell he wanted to, you know what I mean? But like certain things that were just sensitive, you know what I mean? Anyway, but the Richard Pryor stuff was, it just became, like I said, I don't think I've ever even said that part out loud before. The idea of hearing that stuff and then taking it outside and using it to make friends, or just to make people laugh, or whatever, whatever I was doing.
The stuff that you've made and the stuff that you're known for is really like such a knowledge of records and samples, you know what I mean? All that stuff. But then also that Talk and Fly, the acceptance thing, and then the sensitivity piece with Richard Pryor.
Yeah.
Like it just really feels like, man, that orientation, you know what I mean? That initial thing that like, this is what's important. This is how you connect with people. This is how you talk. This is how you express yourself.
Yes.
But then also just the idea that an artist, when you really are doing something, is when you're opening up and when you're showing that other side of who you are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It really feels like that's the gateway to all of the music that you made.
Yeah. I don't know what else to say to that one. I think you're right.
But you mentioned also that you're good at like reading people.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's such a huge part of it too. Like we mentioned that you were focusing on this in hip hop music in a time when I don't know how popular that was. Like you think like your first stuff that I was aware of came out in the mid 90s.
Yeah.
And that's a time when there was only like a couple types of rappers to be. Like you could either be like Heavy D, you could be like the super positive rapper, you could be a gangster rapper, or you could be a Black Power rapper. That was really it.
Yeah.
Or different types of like fly player, whatever.
Yeah.
But it wasn't really common for people to like open up. Very rare examples.
Yeah. Rare people. Yeah.
Like certain like Scarface and things like that have moments like that. But your ability to see who a person is underneath what they're showing the world and being like, I want to get to that.
Yeah.
Where do you think you learn how to know people like that, read people like that, and to try to bring it out in music?
I guess it would have to be with my relationship with my dad, and the sensitivity my mom had. She's a very sensitive person, so I had that. But then my dad, because you can't really talk to him, he talks to you. You don't talk to him, so you have to be a certain way around him and read him. I used to have to know when it was okay to at least kind of ask something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or when it was time to be, I see it. He cracked a little smile right there. I can talk about something with them. You know what I mean? Like I just learned how to do that shit. You have to read his ass. Know what's what. And then I start doing that with everything and everybody, because that's just how that is. And this is obviously just me looking back now. I don't, you know what I mean?
Like you don't know that when it's happening.
Yeah, it's just like this is how you would deal with people, and this is how you deal with like guys and shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, like I ain't talking to you first. You out of your mind? You know what I mean?
Right.
You talk to me, and then I'll engage if necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just depends what you bring in. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, but when I was a kid, it started off a little bit like, okay, is it cool? You know what I mean? That type of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, and so I think as I went into music, I started noticing right away. So right in the 80s, I've been making music pretty, like I was saying, I started working with rappers in 88, 89, stuff like that. And I would notice sometimes if I say something, I would watch somebody get defensive, but I wouldn't know what that, I'd be like, oh, this dude's ready to go to mattresses over this shit. And then some people could hear a criticism, or some people, and I was the same way. Someone would be like, Tony, man, you need to scratch better on beat, man. You know, like, so what, you crazy motherfucker, I'm on beat? That was not a fuck up of the cut. You know what I mean? That type of shit. You know what I mean? So it's pretty funny. Yeah. So that was always a thing, and so I was like, always I had to figure out how to talk to guys about their art, and realizing, oh, these guys, they care about it just like I do.
Yeah.
And they're sensitive to it. I need to be sensitive to what they're doing and what they're putting down and what they're writing, even though it's knick-knack paddywhack raps, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's still serious. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, and as I grew and as things grew, I just learned more and more. That's just how I started dealing with people. And that's, to this day, it's like that, you know?
I feel like that's one of the things that I've learned from you is like, what's the main thing that, like, why is this person doing this, and what do they want out of it?
Yeah. There's a lot of that, but I can't never really put my finger on it. I just get around people and I just assume you're like me. I feel like if you're an artist, you're most likely something happened to you where you're looking for acceptance. And somewhere around the way, somebody didn't, that was important, and they didn't accept you. So maybe if I show you just a little bit of, I feel the same way you do, or we can accept each other for these maybe something as simple as, oh man, I got zits and you got zits, and let's become, you know what I mean? Whatever, you know what I mean? Like,
that's how you do it was an 80s thing.
Yeah, zits. Yeah. I don't think they even have those no more, but but I'm just saying, you know what I mean?
Yeah, man, what happened to zits, man?
But it's like, it's a, so it's just kind of like, you're bonding with artists, you know what I mean? And so making sure to talk about, and I'm not a curious mind. I'm really not too curious about what with people. But when I start talking with artists, I'm always fascinated at how their brains work and why they do the things they do, because I know it's all showing off. I don't care what nobody says. We're all the same in that department. We're all like, hey, look what I can do.
right.
At some degree or another. You know what I mean? It's all a bunch of little kids with their little drawings. Hey, look at that. You know what I mean? Like, everybody's the same with that shit.
Yeah.
So I always think about that when I'm working with any artist, no matter big or small, I think about that, because they're all like that to me.
I do really remember, like, when we started, like, really working together. I remember, like you said, like, you don't see it when it's happening. But, like, I was aware that you were really careful how you were talking to me about certain things.
Yeah.
But now looking back, like, I see, like, how you had to open me up.
Yeah.
To certain things. And when I think about, like, even, like, when we were making Shadows on the Sun, like, I think about the first songs we made to the last.
Yeah.
Because the first was Room with a View.
Yeah,
we made Room with a View, Big Slap.
Yeah, hardcore joints.
My neighborhood's crazy, and I smack rappers.
Yeah,
that's where we started.
The basics.
Yeah.
The basics.
By the time we got to the end, it was picket fence.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was just like, and then
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then no one loved me, but then one person did.
Yeah. It's all of us.
And I know that was like, that's over the course of a year.
Yeah.
of just you like slowly.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, whether I knew it or not, but yeah.